All right, everybody, welcome in to another edition of One Off Wednesday as my friend Andy Hart finishes his salad,
Yep.
gets it out of his teeth with his big jug of water, and we're back, like I said, One Off Wednesday here on the Six Rings and Football Things podcast. He is Andy Hart. I am Mike Kadlick, and like we do every Wednesday here on the Six Rings feed, we're here to talk about a one-off topic regarding the Patriots as we continue to trickle along this 2024 offseason. We've hit on several things, draft nuggets, drafts. We did the preseason draft. We did
What makes a good owner?
What makes a good owner? We did captains last week, and this week we're here to ask one simple question: does history, among other things, matter when drafting a quarterback? Because obviously, when you have the number 3 overall pick, you do a ton of research. You look at, you meet with these guys. You look at all their tape. You find out what makes them tick. You find out from high school coaches, college coaches, teammates. You do so much research. A lot of it doesn't even have to do with the actual play on the field. And in the silly season, and when we find out things like the other day, like the Patriots may be looking at J.J. McCarthy and Drake May's stock falls and Jaden Daniels quickly rises and Caleb Williams has all these off-field concerns. People dig and they find things and they nitpick. And one of the things that I keep finding, or there's a couple of them, but especially with the Patriots drafting at number 3, is the history behind quarterbacks who have been taken in the top 3. Not necessarily the top 3 quarterbacks off the board, but literally to the top 3 teams. And that, a lot of that might have to do with the top 3 teams being not great. And so like Patrick Mahomes, 3rd quarterback off the board, but he's 10th and the Chiefs traded up. So like he gets put in a good situation, things like that. The other one is school. So like we'll use Drake May as the example and looking at other guys that have gone recently in the NFL draft from UNC. They're not that good. And so that means Drake May stinks. So let's talk about it, Andy, because we did it yesterday. The reason we kind of thought of it was because Brock Bowers, Kyle Pitts, high tight end, school, like, it's all people tie things in and sometimes it makes no sense. So I'll ask you off the top, does history matter when drafting a quarterback high in the draft?
We can make this a short podcast if you want. I can just say no.
Someone tweeted at us actually on our Six Rings promo and said, so what happens when the two of you agree? And that's what that's kind of what I think. Like we both agree it doesn't matter. So I guess we'll see you next time on Six Rings.
Right. No. But this is a common topic depending on which specific way you package it. And I find it really interesting, like all the specific guys this year. So we can go in a million directions and we're going to bounce around. We're going to look at different things because if history did matter, I would argue you take J.J. McCarthy because he comes from Michigan and the Patriots did pretty good the last time they took a quarterback from Michigan, like with intangibles, leader, the whole thing. It doesn't. But like so I am a Drake May guy.
Yep.
But is he Mitchell Trubisky? Because everybody wants to throw Mitchell Trubisky at you because that Carolina blue number 10 is the same and Mitchell Trubisky sucked and blah, blah, blah. Or another option is Jaden Daniels. Well, do I look at LSU and say, Jamarcus Russell, don't touch those LSU Tigers? Or do I go, that Joe Burrow's freaking awesome, right?
Pretty damn good.
Or do I look at, I don't know, USC, where I say Carson Palmer was pretty damn good. Matt Leinart, not so much. Do I touch?
Right. Matt Barkley wasn't great. People looked at USC quarterbacks for a while, the Cody Kesslers of the world. And then, but you look at, like you said, Carson Palmer, and people might try and knock Carson Palmer. He had a really good
very,
NFL
very
career.
Good NFL career. Okay, so let's go to Oregon. Do we say, well, Marcus Mariota was a bit of a bust? Justin Herbert's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Which one is Bo Nix? Or do we go to Washington, where you ever hear of Jake Locker? He was a forced first-round pick that I actually think there's a good comparison between those two. A forced first-round pick that could end up being a bust. There's plenty of history in both directions, and we all know that, who was it, JFK, whatever, like if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it kind of thing.
Right.
To me, it's not the history of, and I know the Patriots do this exercise, or historically the Patriots have done this exercise. When they bust on a pick, they go back 3 years later and do basically the same amount of research again to figure out, why did we blow that pick? What information did we not have? Did we miss? Were we lacking? How did that go from we really liked the guy to it was a bust of a pick? And that is what's important. Like, why did you miss your evaluation as a league? Maybe the league said Mitchell Trubisky sucked and only the Bears liked him. Like, I don't know what individual teams thought back then. So then the next question is just schools. Forget about history. Do schools matter? Because, Ohio State, they can't develop a quarterback. Oh, wait. CJ Stroud has changed.
CJ Stroud just got Stephon Diggs because he's so damn good. They just got him a true wide receiver.
Third highest odds to win the Super Bowl a year after they picked number 2 overall. Like, so don't tell me Ohio State quarterbacks can't develop. But that could have happened a few years ago if Joe Burrow had stayed at Ohio State instead of going to LSU, which is a whole nother layer to schools can't produce or produce good quarterbacks. So all of these things, and I think the one that bothers me the most is the actual position in the draft. Oh, the third pick. Go back and look at the history of the third pick. Not great. Okay.
Let's do it. Because I got the list in front of me. We can talk about that and we can use this as... It's on my
good.
phone.
Because I worry with your computer, if you change screens, it means you're going to freeze up and turn into Max Headroom or something.
I looked it up on my computer and then I was like,
"Oh no, I can't
do this. We'll freeze, especially live." So I transferred it to my phone, and quarterbacks taken with the top 3 picks in the first round since 1997. We'll do. How's that?
A long time ago.
We have.
That predates my career, and I'm not that young.
I just
why are you so confused?
Right. Because it's a big
list,
a big database. Round 1 pick. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. I need to make sure right now.
You do that. I'll answer a question. I'm just going to read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
If the Patriots end up trading down and get J.J. McCarthy, is J.J. an upgrade to Mac Jones? Is he a game changer? That is Joey Aguirre. YZ Aguirre. Yes, he's an upgrade to Mac Jones. I don't believe he's a game changer. I don't believe, first of all, I don't think there's any shot in hell they draft J.J. McCarthy at number 3. Now, in your scenario, if they trade down, does that make it more of a possibility? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't believe J.J. McCarthy is a talented game changer at the NFL level. Let's be honest. He wasn't really a game changer at the college level. It was Corum was the centerpiece of that offense. They played a conservative style, a physical style offensive line. They got the best offensive lineman in the world in what's his name? Zinter? Is that how you say it? Zach Zinter?
Zach Zinter.
That's what they were built around. And if you talk to some, we had a caller on the Rich Keefe show last night call in, a Michigan fan, and was like, they kind of like reined J.J. McCarthy in as the season wore on because he wasn't doing like good things necessarily. So, yeah, do I think he's an upgrade over the puddle of goo that was Mac Jones that left here? Absolutely, upgrade. But do I think he's a franchise quarterback or anything like that? I do not believe that.
I think he's one of those guys, and I guess he's similar to Mac Jones, where there's potential there, but he needs help, and he needs to, guys need to be put around him. He needs to put in the correct system. And you saw it early with Mac Jones. He flashed because he was in the right system, and they did have some talent around him, I guess. But mainly it was the system. JJ McCarthy isn't plug into any offense and just let him ride. Like he needs structure around him. But he is an upgrade over Mac Jones because they ruined Mac Jones.
And he's more physically talented. I think he's more athletic. I think he has a stronger arm. I think he can throw, quote unquote, off platform better than Mac Jones. I think now, I don't personally think he's as talented as the top 3 in the draft, the trio. So he's in the middle somewhere.
All right, let's do the trio then, because I now have my proverbial shit together. And quarterbacks drafted in the top 3 picks since 1998.
That was 97.
Peyton Manning.
What happened to 97?
There was none.
Okay, perfect.
There was none. So so 1998. Peyton Manning. Ryan Leaf. Tim Couch. Donovan McNabb. Achilles Smith. Chad Pennington. Nope, that's a lie. Chad Pennington was not. I got it all screwed up. But here we go. Michael Vick. David Carr. Joey Harrington. No, he's an Oregon bad.
He's definitely an Oregon bad.
Yeah. Carson Palmer. Good. Eli Manning.
Good. Yeah.
Good.
I'm just going to
Alex
say
Smith.
right now, we're on a more good than bad. Yeah.
Alex Smith.
Good.
Yep. Vince Young.
Good. It just went bad.
No. What does that mean? So like, he won Rookie of the Year, and then it went bad. But so did Mac Jones almost win Rookie of the Year if it weren't for Jamar Chase going for
But that's an
200 yards in the
example
last
of
3 weeks,
that
but
was like head case. Like he was keeping a gun in his like car to kill himself. Like that was a legitimate.
there was a lot going on with Vince Young.
And again, I believe, and you said it earlier, most of it has nothing to do with football, all the research they do. That is the wild card in all of this. That ability to spend time with these guys, to learn about, as you said, high school trainers, high school strength coaches, everybody that's been around them, look into their eyes. I know this sounds weird, but like literally look into their eyes and be like, is this guy a BS artist? Is he genuine? Does he have the fire? Those are all the things that matter so much. And those are the weak spot, I think, for all of us. We just don't have that information. We're not able to get that information the way teams do or should.
Yep. Hold on. We have a comment in the chat from Jeff Stenberg that says, listing QBs drafted top 3 and trying to judge if they were any good is unfair. Most of a QB's success is based on situation. Well, that's exactly why we're doing this.
And no one could have made the Texans good over the last 5 years, except C.J. Stroud made the Texans good. I don't believe that mentality.
Right.
No one could make the Browns good. I mean, the Bengals good. We had, back when he returned our phone calls and texts, Chris Scheim admit that he was dead wrong, that he didn't believe the Bengals could be turned around by Joe Burrow, that they should trade down. He was wrong. Any team can be turned around by the right guy. That's how damn important quarterback is. So proceed.
Yeah, even Trevor Lawrence brought the Jaguars to the playoffs a couple years ago.
Josh Allen. The Bills hadn't won in 20 years. Josh Allen in year 2, when people told me he sucked. Guy was telling me on Twitter today that Josh Allen sucked in year 2. He won 10 games and threw twice as many touchdowns as interceptions and led the Bills to the playoffs. The Bills. He led the Bills to the playoffs. The Bills blew.
The Bills.
And he led them to the playoffs. So don't tell me things can't be turned around by the right quarterback. Jeff.
All right, here we go. Jeff. Sorry, Jeff. Jeff's always in the chat, though, so keep coming back. We
love you, but you know, if you come at me, I'm going to respond. I'm like Teddy Bruschi. He used to say,
you best not miss.
You come to locker 54, you better be ready, Teddy Bruschi used to say when he was kind of a dink in the locker room. Quite honestly.
I like it. All right, Jamarcus Russell. Probably the biggest bust now.
He's up there.
Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan
is good. Yeah.
A great pick.
BC can't produce quarterbacks except Hasselbeck's.
Matthew Stafford.
So I continue to say more good than bad so far.
Yeah. The
tone of this is take the damn quarterback in the top 3.
Yeah, I agree. So far, so good. Sam Bradford. What do you make of Sam Bradford?
I blew that pick. I thought he was I called him a Hall of Famer before he played a single down in the National Football League.
That's good.
Now, here's where I do excuse making. This guy taking shots at my visors. Geoff. It's Jeff. That I thought Sam Bradford was going to be awesome. And he was one of those like 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years to start his career kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'll hang my hat on that.
He won the Rookie of the Year. He got hurt a bunch.
I loved him.
He wound up getting traded to for a first round
later
pick,
on,
like years later.
Minnesota got desperate.
Was it Minnesota that was
very
when desperate.
Teddy Bridgewater blew out his knee.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I loved Sam Bradford coming out, but he was not great, Bob.
Yeah, but he was again. The pick I still felt like
it
was okay. Like I don't think he was a complete
the right pick. They
bust.
screwed it up.
Yeah. Andrew Luck.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I missed Cam Newton too. Cam Newton,
Hall of Famer.
Good pick.
I mean, maybe a Hall.
Cam Newton.
Forget that.
Andrew
Not a Hall
Luck.
of Famer, but MVP.
Robert Griffin.
Yeah, I think he was good. That situationally, the injury and the coming back and everything that went sideways in a hurry.
Yeah, but he played well early, got hurt, never returned to it, and almost I don't want to say he played too long, but like he would never get back to it. I don't know if he played with like the jitters. I don't know if he was like nervous, but he was never the same after that torn ACL.
Now he's kind of a dink as an analyst, but anyway, different topic.
Yeah, he goes back and forth. Sometimes he's pretty funny. Other times it's a lot. But he's the one who started that Stephon Diggs thing yesterday. He started the Stephon Diggs thing. Diggs clapped back, and then all of a sudden, Diggs was shipped out of Buffalo. Yep. Blake Bortles.
Not a great, no. I mean, he
Not
was in an AFC title game with a loaded roster.
Yeah.
But no, I would say he's a thumbs down overall.
Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota.
Mariota's a thumbs down.
Mariota,
Jameis Winston's a weird one for me because there's literally a handful of guys in the history of the NFL that have 5,000-yard passing seasons, and he's one of them, and he throws interceptions, and he's got to be a thumbs down overall. He's not a franchise quarterback, and you're trying to get a franchise quarterback. Yes, a thumbs down.
Right. I agree. He was, again, a lot of these guys, I feel like they start strong. Like he had that 30 touchdown, 30 pick season, threw for 5,000, but now he's a career backup. He keeps trying to go somewhere and start, but it doesn't happen. Like he's stuck around in New Orleans. He's going to Cleveland where he's going to back up Watson now. Like he's just, again, he's worthy of a roster spot, but clearly not worthy of the number 1 overall pick. Jared Goff, Carson Wentz.
I personally like Goff is a hit. I mean, he took a team to a Super Bowl, and he has the other team as a Super Bowl contender. So he's proven to be maybe a bottom tier franchise quarterback, but a franchise quarterback. And I don't like him. I think he's soft as puppy poo. But the results are what the results are.
He's objectively a good quarterback. He was worth the number 1 overall.
Carson Wentz is weird because he was good, burned hot, burned out, and then became arguably one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen play.
Terrible.
So I would say thumbs down.
He was literally going to win the MVP and then tore his ACL and was never the same.
Like just unwatchably bad. Made some of the dumbest throws I have ever seen from not just a professional quarterback, some of the dumbest throws I've ever seen any quarterback at any level make. So no, thumbs down.
Yeah. Mitchell Trubisky.
Thumbs down. Bust.
Baker Mayfield. I like Baker.
You're biased.
I'm biased.
I would say not a true franchise quarterback. I don't know how, even though I said it with Goff didn't have the stops in between in Carolina and LA and the weirdness of Baker Mayfield. Right. And I'm not, he had a good year last year. Let's see what he does this year.
We did this might have been I don't know if it was a one-off Wednesday or maybe it was in one of our columns. Me and you had a back and forth on Baker a couple months ago because maybe it was when the Patriots there was mutual interest between the two or something. And I always said he kind of got screwed out of Cleveland. Like he's a better quarterback right now than Deshaun Watson is, I think. And he took them to the playoffs and he played well. And then he got hurt, and then they screwed him with Watson, and then they sent him to Carolina, which was never a good situation. Then, like you said, he goes to LA and whatever, and then he's back on track. And the seasons he wasn't great. Again, he was hurt. When he plays and is healthy, he plays pretty well. Now, was he maybe overdrafted at number 1? Probably, but so was that entire class was overdrafted. Like the next guy who was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick at one point, Sam Darnold. He was drafted 3rd overall pick. He stinks. He still stinks. He's now going to be the quarterback in Minnesota, but he seems like one of those guys who's going to get infinite chances based off strictly potential.
Yeah, Sam Darnold's a thumbs down. I mean, he's a bust. The Baker one, I think you have to go thumbs down using our sort of franchise QB criteria. But I mean, he's still a professional quarterback, and he could have. I mean, his career could go on for a long time, depending on how he plays. If he plays like last year, he's going to be in the league for a while.
Yeah. Kyler Murray. He got paid. He got a big second contract.
So did Carson Wentz. But he's not as bad as Carson Wentz. So as of right now, he's with the team that drafted him, and they gave him a bunch of money, and he's still their franchise QB. So I think I got to call him a hit. I hate it, though.
Yeah, I think so, too. Yeah. Joe Burrow.
Hit. Stud.
The biggest hit so far, I think, is Peyton Manning. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. The last time 3 went in the top 3. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. That's the premise.
So I'm going to say just the here and now, even though Lawrence hasn't been great, you have to say he's a franchise quarterback. He's still with the team. They've been a playoff team in his tenure. I think that's a franchise.
Trevor Lawrence is a hit, I think.
He's not as good as people thought he was going to be. He's not a generational talent. He's not Joe Burrow. He hasn't had that instant, consistent impact. There's been too many sort of ebbs and flows over the last couple of years. But he's a franchise quarterback. The other two are just busts.
Yeah. And Trey Lance is tough too because he didn't play much, but he never warranted more starts. He never warranted.
But he was drafted too high. I don't put that on him. They drafted a running back out of North Dakota State as quarterback, number 3 overall, and they traded 3 picks to get. It was that's one of the worst trades and picks in the history of sports.
Yeah, and that
it was predictably stupid,
which is remarkable. Yeah, right. All right, and final 2, Bryce Young, CJ
So an
Stroud.
obvious hit, and we can only go by what we have this 1 year, an obvious bust. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Bryce Young.
Maybe he won't be, but he already got his coach fired. Like, he's a bust. He is a year into his
From what we know,
he could turn it around. Yeah. He could pull the inverse Mac Jones and like turn it around, become a star in years 2 and 3, whatever. But he's a bust. But my overall takeaway from this exercise: take a quarterback in the top 3, like I felt all along, because you have a good chance to get a franchise quarterback. History shows us, and some of the specific ones, because I know the other. So that's the top 3 picks. There's also this argument.
Correct.
If you take the 3rd quarterback, whether he's for top 3, top 5, top 7, if you take the 3rd quarterback,
Anthony Richardson, Malik Willis, Trey Lance,
Justin Herbert, Josh Allen,
Dwayne Haskins,
right?
Josh Allen,
right.
Deshaun
So
Watson,
there's still plenty of
Christian.
There's still plenty of hits in the 3rd best quarterback who doesn't go in the top 3. So top 3, plenty of hits. 3rd best quarterback will regard plenty of hits. Like there's no argument against taking a quarterback, in my opinion, unless you just flat out think Drake May or Jaden Daniels, again, back to the present and your evaluation of their ability, their style, their skills, their health status, whatever. The present, if you believe they stink, okay, but it has nothing to do with history.
I agree, and I think it's we just did that exercise, and we may have talked ourselves into the fact that the 3rd quarterback's fine and the 3rd pick is fine, but at the end of the day, the history, I don't think matters. Like, it does not matter that Christian Hackenberg was the 3rd quarterback off the board. It doesn't matter that Josh Allen was the 3rd quarterback off the board. It doesn't matter that Patrick Mahomes was 2nd. Like, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, if you like him and your evaluation of him it checks out to be a franchise quarterback, then he's worth the number 3 pick. Like, because Drake May could be the number 1 pick next season, depending on that quarterback class, or he could have been the 1st quarterback last year. It matters on who's in the draft and who's not in the draft. And so, especially the schools, and I know we already kind of did the schools, but I look at the UNC argument with Sam Howell and Mitch Trubisky, and it kind of like pisses me off. It kind of fires me up that people think just because Mitch Trubisky was a bust, that Drake May can't play quarterback. Like, different time, overdrafted versus overdrafted in Trubisky, which Drake May now is, going to be drafted in a spot, if not underdrafted at number 3, depending on what people thought of him before. Played more games, just an objectively better, more sound quarterback prospect than Mitch Trubisky was, I think. And Trubisky was just, Chicago liked him, liked what they saw in him, and they overdrafted him. And I don't think that means that Drake May is going to stink. And frankly, it doesn't mean that.
So that's another aspect of history that I would bring up, and that's kind of 1-year wonders, guys, because certainly Zach Wilson and Mitchell Trubisky, 2 2nd overall picks, were 1-year wonders, and they took full advantage, and good for them. They made money off of it. And I would say, okay, that's dangerous to play. Mac Jones, kind of a 1-year wonder. But Joe Burrow, kind of a 1-year wonder. So, again, it just gets back to the individual player, the circumstances, because the other thing is, I love the multi-year. This is where I embrace history of, for 2+ years, Caleb Williams was the number 1 pick in the draft. And I love that. I love that consistency. I love the opportunity to pick nits and like poke holes in his game, his personality, how he handles himself, because that means he's really good. Because you don't do that with crappy players because you don't talk about him for 3 years, right? Like, and that's a good thing to me. But like the flip side is the Drake May. Oh, well, his best year was 2 years ago. Well, but why is that? Is it just because he regressed? Is it just because I would argue Lamar Jackson was better early on at Louisville than he was late. I thought Lamar kind of sneaky stunk his final year at Louisville. And that's why I was hesitant to take him. And then he's got 2 MVPs in 5 years in the National Football League. And he's a very, very good quarterback at this level. Even, oh, by the way, I don't need to yell at anybody. What's he ever won? Oh, yeah, he's not that good. Yeah, they all suck. Josh Allen sucks, and Joe Burrow sucks, and Lamar sucks.
Right.
You wouldn't want any
Terrible.
of them. So,
well, Jaden Daniels, 1 year wonder. And so his draft stock status starts at maybe last October, November.
mm-hmm.
So he only goes up. He only gets higher because there's not enough time. People don't do the nitpicks, right? And where Drake May, Caleb Williams have been on the spectrum for so long that they go up and they skyrocket. And then as time goes on, you start to look further and further, and you try and find things that negatively impact them instead of continuing to build them up. And that's why Dan Orlovsky is obsessed with Jaden Daniels. Not because I don't think Orlovsky's good at evaluating talent, but I think that, you don't dive into these guys enough because Jaden Daniels has only been so good for X amount of time. He hasn't really had time to pan off yet because he's just hitting his peak.
So, okay, we've given like 18 reasons why history doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason why history matters? Like, where can we point to history where it might matter? Like, do you have a...
I mean, the only thing I'll say is like it comes down to the evaluation. And so like, I mean, guys like Jamarcus Russell and Johnny Manziel, who just didn't watch film and clearly weren't dedicated to their craft. If you see that in a player and say, no, we can coach that out of them, you really can't. And now I don't know if Russell or Johnny Manziel showed that in the pre-draft process, right? I'm sure they did their best to put on a front and try and be the best person, the best professional they can be, and you take them and it doesn't work. But I'd say like that type of history where guys just don't really love the game. And then I guess you look at Kyler Murray and you see the video game stuff and the fact that they needed to, or they were trying to write something into his contract that he couldn't play video games for a long time. Like that's another way to look at it. But we also called Kyler Murray a hit in this exercise. So I just think love of the game matters. And if you're not truly invested, Josh Rosen wasn't really a love of the game guy. Like he basically, I think at one time he said like, I'm just really good at this, but I don't like love football, or it was something along those lines. So
it's interesting. So his history or history and then extrapolating on it, people don't generally, I think you're right, get more motivated and more committed and more mature when you hand them a lot of money and all of that. It generally goes the other way,
right?
If anything. So, okay, that's a good point. The flip side, I would say, and this has been going on in the chat, like my buddy Geoff says, I think it's even more important to take a QB this year because the position next year's draft doesn't look great outside of maybe yours. And then Will chimes in about next year's class. Does the future matter? Because I will say there's been a lot of guys that were projected to be the number one pick, projected to be a top 5 pick, especially at the quarterback position. Because if you're good at all, you get put in that spot. Like, that's just the reality of the position. And right now, some places have Shedeur Sanders going number 1, the Beck kid going in the top 5. Quinn Ewers, I think, will probably be in that conversation potentially. There's a kid from Penn State that could be in that conversation. Big kid with some strong arm, athletic ability. But do you look at the future and try to project next year, or are you like,
it's so hard?
How good is this freaking quarterback that is actually available and here this year?
It's so hard to, because exactly like you said, Sam Howell at one point was projected to be the first overall pick. So was Spencer Rattler. And by the time it comes around, everything changes and draft stock changes. So like looking at next year's class and saying you need to take a quarterback now because it stinks, don't do that. Just evaluate this class and worry about next year. If you need a quarterback now and you like the quarterback that's given to you, you can't worry about next year because Shedeur Sanders could be a 3rd-round pick by the end of next season, and Carson Beck could be the clear number 1, or he could fall off, or someone like Jaden Daniels did this year could skyrocket and all of a sudden turn himself into the 3rd overall pick. Jaden Daniels was never even thought to be the 3rd overall pick, even when he was winning the Heisman. Like even when he was in late November, early December, when he actually raised the trophy, he still wasn't being called the 3rd overall pick. And then as time went on, it turned into a 3-quarterback class. So it's way too volatile. It changes way too much for me to sit here and say, you should already scout next year and think, well, if we can get one there, let's do it and let's wait on it. Or vice versa. Don't rush to one. evaluate this class, like Drake May if you like it, and then take him. It's that simple.
Got choked up.
Okay.
So
I was just you were choked up because I was just giving such a good rant, right?
yeah, it just spitting hot fire, as they say, the kids.
Oh,
So I guess I'm choked up.
you all right?
My question is then, is it possible to say, like, I mean, I could answer it. I don't know if I would be answering it reactionary style or sort of factually, but Caleb Williams would be a first-round pick in any draft, right?
Yeah.
I didn't say top number 1 overall, but
Right,
a
first
first-round pick.
Sure.
Drake May would be a first-round pick in any draft, correct?
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels would be a first-round pick in any draft?
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
J.J. McCarthy?
No.
Okay, see, so I feel like we've made a line. We've made a line where basing them on value, even though in a weird way we're bringing history into it, history and future into it by saying in any draft. And this is where you get that idea that teams and analysts have first-round grades. And there's only 14 players I give a flat-out first-round grade to. Like those 14 guys would go in every draft class in the first round. That's what their value is. But that's what you need to do because you're right. History, irrelevant. Future, irrelevant. Like blown ACLs, guy gets strangely beat out and transfers, and now 2 years later, he's still trying to get sort of the kind of reputation back that he once had. And I think that's where I come back to my simple view of these 3 guys. They're all potential franchise quarterbacks. And you also know that history says they can't all be franchise quarterbacks. I don't care.
That's another one that's BS. Yeah, that's the one that we kind of talked about. But yeah,
history says a quarterback is never going to win 7 Super Bowl rings until he did.
Right.
Right? Like no one would have ever said a quarterback's going to win 7 Super Bowl rings. That's stupid. That's just too many. The game's too hard. The position's too hard. Like whatever, you lose your fire. And then he did.
You make it hard for the best team in the league with the 32nd overall pick.
Right.
Yada, yada,
like
yada.
the whole thing. And he did. So don't tell me, like, I think it's stupid to ever think anyone could play however many stupid amount of games that Cal Ripken played. But he did.
Right.
So there is nothing that can't happen. So can there be 3 franchise quarterbacks? Absolutely. And especially
there was 2 years ago, Joe Burrow, Tua, and Justin Herbert. I would consider them all franchise quarterbacks right now.
You're right. They're all franchise quarterbacks right now. You're right. Now, can 3 go in 3 picks? Because there's never been 4 picks to start a draft. Like, there's always something we can spin on.
Totally.
This can't happen. That can't happen. And I just say, how much do you like Drake May? How much do you like Jaden Daniels? And for me, that's different. 2 different answers. Drake May, I sprint to the podium. I couldn't possibly get there any faster. Jaden Daniels, I make the pick.
Right.
I use all my time because I wait to see if anybody calls with a really stupid trade.
Yeah.
Because I do think there are a few more questions for me personally.
Yep, I would agree. And
then I make the pick. Right? So we're taking a quarterback.
Yeah, we're taking a quarterback. I think that's kind of where
history says take a quarterback.
Yes, that's where we go. History doesn't matter, but also listen because it says take the quarterback.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. You need it. You need it. And again, with Drake May, like I keep going to Drake May specifically because it kind of seems like that's the direction we're heading. And so,
well, no, because the stupid. Do you see the odds shifted?
Yeah, they did. They shifted.
And now he's going to Washington, and I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah,
I'm going to be cranky and sad.
And that's not fair to Jaden Daniels.
That's true. I just don't want him as much.
Yeah, but again, May sometimes
Houston didn't want CJ Stroud.
True.
And now what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. It's all a crapshoot. That's why we love it. That's why we're here. That's why we have such a hard time thinking of one-off Wednesday topics because it's all silly season right now, and sometimes it gets a little crazy. Yesterday, J.J. McCarthy was going to the Patriots. Now it's Drake May. Then it's Jaden Daniels. It's cuckoo. It's crazy out here right now.
As long as it stays Drake May, that's when I'll be happy.
Yeah. So
Mayday. We're
maniacs.
Maniac all night.
I saw now that the AFC East is all flipped on its head, I'm calling it the May FC East because Drake May is gonna own the. Oh, what? That one's not good. All the other ones are good, but AFC East stinks. Yeah, that's.
Well, you're a typical Patriots fan. The Bills' window is closed. Excuse me, did they trade Josh Allen?
No,
if
you're
they didn't
right.
trade
but
Josh
they
Allen,
did trade a lot. They did get rid of a lot, Andy. They did get
Yeah.
rid of a lot.
and you know what the biggest issue for you Patriots people is? And I'm part of you people on this.
Yeah.
What if AD Mitchell goes to the Bills?
Oh yeah, they're taking a wide receiver. It's gonna or Brian Thomas or whoever's there at that point.
So not only are they taking a good receiver that with Josh Allen could come into the league and I don't know, have 1,200 yards as a rookie, they're taking a good receiver that might have otherwise fallen to you.
Yep.
They're kicking you in the testicles hard.
Yeah, that's tough. Brendan Bean? Is that his name? He's
Brandon Bean.
Brandon Bean. Yeah, he's taken it to the Patriots already. So
don't tell me. And by the way, I heard on a lot of places that Josh Allen sucked last year and their scheme sucked and they fired their offensive coordinator. Refresh my memory. Where did they finish?
What do you mean? First in the AFC East. Yeah, they won the division. Yeah,
that's how bad their offense was. That's how bad their quarterback. That's how bad their scheme was.
You need a quarterback.
They lost their best defensive player. All of that. And where did they finish?
First
effing place. So stick that in your pipe and smoke.
Not for long, because it's now the Drake May AFC East, and we are going to hopefully get him at number 3. And
what if it's Jaden Daniels?
The JFC East.
Okay, we'll go with this.
You're teaching me well, Andy. You're teaching me well.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for One Off Wednesday. Take the quarterback, whether it's Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or even Caleb Williams. If he falls there, we'll be back later on this week and into next week as we continue this draft season, this off season. Next Monday, Patriots start, next Monday, off season program, April 8th. So stay tuned for that. We'll be here on Six Rings to cover it all, find out what's going on down in Foxborough, all that good stuff. Make sure you follow the Six Rings podcast at Six Rings Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and listen to us, subscribe on the Odyssey app, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Again, we'll be back soon. He's Andy Hart. I'm Mike Kadlick. Six Rings out. We'll talk to you.